back me up, right?
Hi guys, it's Luetin and Wintergore here, and we're here with Karl from, the head of DICE, pretty much, is everyone in charge, and we're here talking about Battlefield 4. So Karl, what do you feel is some of the strongest elements moving forward into Battlefield 4 from Battlefield 3? What are the kind of core principles that you found in Battlefield 3 that you wanted to take forward for everyone in Battlefield 4?
Well, at the reveal event yesterday, we only talked about single player, so I can't mention what our thinking in these areas is when it comes to multiplayer. But specifically for single player, we have a couple of new things or a couple of changes that we want to make. And one of them is specifically, we weren't entirely happy with the single player in BF3. It was a bit too linear and it was a bit too controlling of the actual player experience. Which means that for now, in the demo that you, for instance, have seen online, I hope, the big action stretch there in the construction site is an example of how we're going to change this. It means that we're going to take signature elements from multiplayer and bring it into single player to make it more interesting, giving the player a more tactical choice, the use of vehicles, use of features like actually spotting the enemy to have your squad suppress them, etc., so you can go on flank, etc. 7 of these kind of elements that just adds more to bringing a bit of that multiplayer sandbox into single player. That's very important too.
Something I just wanted to find out as well, perhaps, was that Onslaught mode was a really popular mode, and that obviously focused more towards the single player, and a lot of people commented that they would have liked to have seen that with Battlefield 3. Is this something that you would like to see in Battlefield 4?
Well, we don't have co-op in Battlefield 4. That we have made that decision. We're focusing everything we have on multiplayer and this single player. I mean, I personally really like the Onslaught, even some of the flawed part with it, but you could have really a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was basically rush maps that were turned into like co-op against bots, etc. And even though that's not what we're building, but to some degrees it shares some similarities with the big open action bubbles that we're going to have now in the single player, meaning that it's you against the AI. You have a lot of choice of how you're going to go about doing taking on the challenge at hand, so to say.
Yeah, how will you be looking at working with the community, for example, YouTubers, clans, communities, throughout the production of Battlefield 4?
Well, I'm not really the right person to answer that, perhaps. I mean, we have a full-on marketing campaign going on, and we're going to be working as much as we can with, I don't know how to call it, like the grassroots of the community. We've always been a company that really cherish our connection with the community. The best way to get our products out there and our games is to, of course, talk directly to the people out there. So as much as possible, we absolutely can do that. We will.
Yeah. So you'll be listening to like players' feedback, for example.
Well, we always do. We have since the launch of our games, we have always listened to the feedback coming out there. Now, sometimes we do that secretly, just following people or reading blogs or whatever. Sometimes we actually, are more actually out there and commenting on it as well. But the sheer size of Battlefield is just staggering. So I mean, there's no way for us to be everywhere and comment on and react to all the kind of feedback. And in all honesty, I have the utmost deepest respect for the community, but not all suggestions that we get are actually either doable or perhaps suitable for the products that we're doing. That doesn't mean that all feedback isn't good feedback. We like to hear from everyone what they think about our products.
I think it'd be fair to say that the Battlefield 3 multiplayer was unbelievably strong. It really did move the whole series forward, and it put Battlefield out there against some other titles. But one thing was the competitive element. Now, again, I know you can't say too much about it, but from speaking to Lars, I know that he said, without saying anything, you guys are aware of that and you're going to sort of be looking forward to it. Would you sort of agree with that, say that it's an element that you are aware of?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely see Battlefield as, especially the multiplayer component of it, as a very competitive, part of the game, of course. And multiplayer is the heart of any Battlefield game that we do, and that won't change moving forward. I can't, as you say, talk about the specifics here because we're not announcing them, but I can say that, for instance, esport is an area that we are very interested in. It's not as easy as some game developers like to think, that it's just that you do A, X, Y, and Z and everything is done. It's actually much bigger than that now. There are some people that actually see this as a new phenomenon, and that's not true either for the people that have been involved in this scene. It's been around for a long time. It's just recently it's really started to take off, perhaps more in semi-mainstream online media, etc. Which is amazingly cool, by the way. Yeah. So yes, we're very interested in this area, and we're definitely going to see what we can do here.
Yeah. The single player, now obviously you said that maybe some people were not happy fully with the Battlefield 3 single player, and we saw a lot of the Battlefield 4 single player, and I got to talk to quite a few people last night about that, and it sounds really exciting. And for a lot of people said that they weren't too happy with it as well. Do you feel quite strongly that you really have made enough sort of changes that you're going to satisfy people, that it's going to be worth people taking the time to look at it? Because as I say, I personally enjoyed it, even though I know some people did. But what would you say to people that didn't enjoy the Battlefield 3 and going into the next title?
Well, it's a bit hard to say actually, because we get this feedback from some people saying, "Oh, I didn't like it, etc. I didn't play it. I only want to play multiplayer." We often get the question as well, "Why do you even do single player at all? Battlefield is a multiplayer game." Well, the fact is that we know that a lot of people play our games just for the single players as well. Our ambition is, of course, that if they are that kind of player, we want them to experience the single player, and then as quickly as possible, when they're done with it, move over to start playing multiplayer as well. That is very important for us, because the longevity of the product is in the multiplayer, and as I said before, it's what I consider to be the heart of a Battlefield game. At the same time, we are not in any way completely dishappy with the single player in BF3. There was some really good parts about it, some very dramatic elements where we feel that we perhaps control the player a bit too much, and that's what we want to change. But I believe that if you like single player games, I think you're going to like what we have cooked up now for Battlefield 4. Yeah. It's going to be a mix. There's going to be parts where we control you as the player. It's going to be more linear, where we really want you to you're going to experience this that we are controlling right now. Dial the drama up to 11 basically. And then when you get into the open areas, that's where the big change starts to come in. That's where you have the options and to play it more in your way.
Yeah. And I know, obviously, again, you can't talk about multiplayer too much, but from what we saw, there's 17 minutes of single player mode and a lot of the kind of elements that go on in there. Would you say that for people, it would be a fair assumption that it's quite you could translate a lot of elements from that into a multiplayer? From what you see, you could think, okay, this will work here, and so it gives people a vague imagining of what it would be like?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's not that it's outspoken in such a way, but I mean, the single player can act as a tutorial for a lot of people before they go online. So controls will be the same, etc. So you'll learn, for instance, when you target the enemies in single player, so your squad starts to suppress them, that should be the same kind of button press for actually spotting people in multiplayer, etc. So you actually prepare them for going online afterwards.
That's actually a good point, because I think we all know that spotting is something that is not the best for people in multiplayer. So to see that in single player, it would be a good translation for people going forward. So I think it's great. Have you got something?
Yeah, so the single player to me seems to have taken quite a lot of inspiration from the Battlefield Bad Company 2 single player, in that obviously the players are in a squad. What sort of other ways have you looked at basically improving that, like the feeling that the player gets that is connected in an actual squad, and for example, not just like a running through soldier where it's like sort of has no emotion basically?
Well, this is the second big area of improvement, I would argue, in the single player that we have today, and that is, if the one part is where we bring signature multiplayer elements into single player, the other part is how we focus on what we like to call the dramatic, human and believable element of the actual game. Some things that we have changed, for instance, is that you now play one character throughout the entire game, meaning we don't want to break the immersion of you as the player, who you are or what you're doing. We want that, make that more easy to understand. But then, of course, in the interaction between you and the other characters, how we can make it much more dramatic in between you and your squad mates, what's going on, make the other characters much more recognizable, etc. That was another thing that wasn't very, very good in Battlefield 3. In the scene, for instance, in one of the first demos we did, where you're sitting in the APC, for instance, there were like about 4 other dudes in there. If you ask people who they were, they have no idea. It was like, well, there's a guy in a helmet and the fatigues, and yeah, there's 3 other guys like that. They couldn't really be recognized. So that's what we're working a lot with, in combination of course with the real actors that we have in the game, to make them more recognizable, to create more dramatic elements in the story, etc. And also perhaps bringing the story a bit down. It's not about the big war, the geopolitics. They are there in the background to help the backstory move forward. But what the game is actually about is the characters in themselves. That's what's important.
I did notice in the single player, it seemed to have quite a gritty scene where on one of the scenes you have to sort of saw off the guy's leg with a knife. Is that something that you'll be looking at throughout the game, sort of giving it sort of more of a gritty feel with, like, for example, the goal which was shown there, the guy's leg completely blown off?
Well, I mean, it's not on purpose that we just want to create a more gory game. Absolutely not. It is a mature game, as Battlefield 3 was as well. So we take the liberty to do these kind of strong scenes. I think it's really important to point out that we don't add them just to create some kind of a fuss around it that will give us more attention. That's not why we do it. You might actually have noticed that in the demo, when you actually cut the leg, the camera looks away. It's not that we want to show somebody like, that's not the important part. What is the important for us is what I mentioned before, is the dramatic element, the human element, where you're looking into the eye of Dunn there on the ground when he says, you need to cut off my leg or I'm going to die. There's no other option. And then we keep that player interactivity and player autonomy, so it's up to you. Okay, you cut the leg, the fuel's about to explode from the helicopter, it's just leaking out. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? That kind of stress of the situation, that is really important for us. It's not the actual leg being cut off. That's just an effect of the situation, or a situation they're in, so to say.
What does pacing mean to you? Because to me that's an important thing for movies, games, everything. The speed which you go from one scene to another, and the intensity of one scene. So that was one thing that I really took away from the single player. But thinking about it, that's something that really matters in the multiplayer, and specifically to Battlefield, because a lot of titles seem to focus on the speed and the action, and the moment you respawn, you run into another player almost immediately. With Battlefield, you always have the time to think, okay, how am I going to approach this, move forward, go around, then you have a very intense fight, then you might have time to regroup, move, take out another position. And that was something that was really strong. We saw in the single player there as they moved through the game. But what does pacing mean to you when you're creating a title? How important is it to you?
Pacing is extremely important, especially for more consciously when you create a single player game. And even now in the demo we showed yesterday, as you can see, there are a couple of time jumps in the demo, so that this mission is actually much longer in the real game. So it's pretty high tempo even in this demo that we showed here. The team that is building this are really conscious about the fact that we don't want to create what they before have called like a 11-hour rock solo, which is just like full-on energy and then all the time throughout the game. That's not what we want to build, because that is actually exhausting to take part in. We want to create a game where you have like the nice build-ups of something, you have tension going on, something that builds up towards a crescendo or something, then you have something erupt, and then you might have a calm moment again, and you build these kind of dramatic curves depending on the story and the mood and the style and tone that you want to get across with the dialogue of the characters, etc. It's very, very important. And I agree with what you said, that multiplayer has different kinds of tempo in them as well. We do see that some people like the much quicker tempo, and they prefer perhaps playing team deathmatch on smaller maps like the close quarters or something. And then you have people that prefer a bit slower tempo and more tactical, or time to actually step back and be a bit more tactical. Maybe that's more of the conquest players, etc.
Can I ask as well about the DLCs for Battlefield 3 when you mentioned close quarters? Now, a lot of people kind of speculated that what you guys were trying to do there was experiment with each one to sort of gauge reaction. Was that the case, or were you trying to simply give people a lot of options as to what they were trying to do?
Well, it's not so much about gauging reactions, I would say, because then we have a separate team, or actually separate teams working on the expansion packs, and just doing that to gauge a reaction would be a bit expensive, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
But we definitely, but you're actually dead on. I mean, we wanted to expand on the idea of what Battlefield can be. I've mentioned this before, that I see the Battlefield experience almost like a spectrum. If on one side of the spectrum you have conquest large, people that love the big open vehicle maps, etc., and on this side you have team deathmatch, tighter indoor maps, much faster, etc. Then we have shown that we can do the whole width in between here. With the expansion packs in the premium campaign for Battlefield 3, we wanted to expand that spectrum in both directions. So Armored Kill has some of the biggest maps we've ever done, and then Close Quarters are probably some of the smallest maps we've ever done. And then with specific thematic game modes in each one of them as well, to give in new interesting way of playing Battlefield 3. So that was very conscious from us, and we were very, very happy with the results, and the feedback we've been getting is that people really loved it. There are some people that they just want to play the big maps, for instance. They perhaps did not like close quarters as much as other people do, but at the same time we want to try to satisfy as many people as possible that are enjoying our game.
would you say that Battlefield 4 is a strong evolvement from Battlefield 3? I mean, it's not going to see the massive jump that we saw from Bad Company to Battlefield 3, but do you feel it's enough of an involvement? What would you say to people that, you know, what are they expecting from this in terms of the strength of change that they're seeing?
Well, it's definitely going to be a big step forward. I do know that we have some critics that might say that, oh, you need to change the setting. I expected sci-fi or something else, otherwise it's not a big step forward. Well, I don't really agree with that. I believe that we can stay in the same universe, which we are now, because we feel that we have a lot of interesting story left to tell. We have a lot of characters that some that we want to bring back from the other game, but also new ones that we want to get in there. At the same time, for the Battlefield players that have been with us for a long period of time, they know that innovation comes in many different shapes and forms. Innovation does not have to be changing the entire setting. Innovation can be in something like, how does the animation system work, or you know, the kind of new gadgets or vehicles that we put in there, or anything from, you know, the new features that we can't talk about in multiplayer, for instance. So people will see this as a big step forward. I really hope so. Yeah. But there's also the fact that we are on the brink of great new transitions, which we also can't talk about for other reasons. But that is very, very exciting. So more on that in the future.
Carl, thank you very much for speaking to us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that was an interview with Karl Magnus. If you have any questions about the interview, make sure to drop them below in the comments. And as always, check out Luetins' channel. You can find that in the description. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you guys next time.
Music.